A blessed, blessed morning to you all, and welcome to another episode of Dew of the Morning. And today, for our devotional, we have Character Power Excellence, and we have two beautiful, wonderful, warm people with us here today at the studio to discuss this devotional. This is Dilshan and Vindhya Disanayake. So, Dilshan, I did not know that you were born and raised overseas, and in fact you were saying that you had over 17 years of experience in the IT field altogether. And Vindhya, when we were talking, you said you came from a non-Christian background, and you were in fact you received your salvation here at the Glorious Church in 2022. Those are wonderful stories. Would you like to share with the audience your stories with them and how your journey has been and how you're connected with the ministry?
Yes, so thanks Purina. I was born in a bit of a complicated explanation, right? So I was born in Zambia, and predominantly I've lived my life in a few countries, South Africa, Fiji Islands, Western Samoa, Zimbabwe was also where I lived actually a lot of my growing up years as well.
Wow.
And things got a little difficult, the economy there. So that's when my parents had already moved back to Sri Lanka. So that's when I, about 2 years later, I also packed up and came back to Sri Lanka. And look, I come from a Christian family. Both my parents, they're in the ministry as well, and they come from a Christian family. But you know, it was a religion. It was I'll leave it for when I get, a little old. Then maybe that's when I will start praying and see what this Jesus is all about and all that. So that's like my story in a nutshell.
And Vindhya, about your journey?
Yeah, so thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for the introduction, Purina. So like you correctly said, yes, I actually come from a non-Christian background. Though I always came, though I came from a non-Christian background, something that I felt always in my life was that, number one was I was missing something, that I always felt that there was something more to life. And so when I met Dilshan, which was about, I think, 2011, right? Okay. So at a very turning point in my life, personally, where I had experienced a massive loss in my life is when I met him. And from that time only, I looked at him. Yes, like he said, he was a Christian. I was thinking, okay, is this what it's all about? I mean, being a Christian, because I rarely saw him going to church or, being the Christian that he is today, okay. Right? But then it was a journey. It was a journey where I think we have both evolved. And for both of us, for me, like everyone considers the COVID period as, one of those bad moments of their lifetime. Mm-hmm. But for us personally, I think that was a blessing in disguise.
That's right.
Because we were working from home at the time, and we were restricted in our movements and all. That's the time that we actually really seriously started following Prophet Jerome. Right. And that voice, that really appealed to me. Wow. And it's under Prophet Jerome's guidance, it's under Prophet Jerome's teachings that I actually received salvation first. And then, so it was a journey. I fell in love with the word so much. It was very fast for me. The journey was really fast. And then in 2022, so Prophet healed me from a 10-year spinal issue. Like I had a slip disc. I suffered a lot. I saw my family suffering. I saw Dilshan suffering. So in 2022, Prophet healed me. And that really, really, stabilized everything. Like I started believing in God like no other time. and we are where we are today.
Mind you, this healing
Yeah.
was done virtually. It was done
right.
through a
Wow.
computer,
Yes.
right? So I mean, that was really impactful. That the God's power can just reach out like that. I mean, there was no touch. There was nothing like that.
It was on Zoom.
It was
No
on
barrier for God
Yeah.
to
Zoom. It was on
work.
Zoom, yeah.
Yes.
That is amazing. And your
right.
journey, I mean, both of you all coming together, that is a beautiful story. And thank you for sharing with us. So, with that, even with your background, I know both of you all, one works for ministry and one serves in ministry. So, how has it been, the experience after coming into ministry, how has it been for you? Full time, like now since the Miracle Dome, I see you all every day, every event you all are participating.
Yeah, so if I may take that question, so it is a blessing. I mean, in my corporate career, so I started off in an audit firm, and then so it was all working for very renowned multinational companies. Like I said at the beginning, I always felt there was something missing. And then in 2011, like I said, it was the turning point in my life. So I had to, I was in a very renowned bank working. I was happy, but not happy, if it makes sense.
Yes.
So I was actually looking for a move. And then it didn't work. I had a very challenging time while working at that bank. But then somehow, now looking back, I know God's hand had been on me always. That is what actually took me through all that. So from that, I moved on to one other job. And then that actually was a very challenging one. It was remote working full time. And then while I was doing that only, I got the opportunity to work as a consultant for the ministry. That really fulfilled. I mean, like all my education, the experience I had gained up to that time, working for the ministry, doing the Lord's work day in and day out, that has given me such a fulfilling feeling. So I'm so grateful for Prophet, to VP, everyone who has given me the opportunities here for Ryan. So I'm really happy. And it is actually a very fulfilling journey. So I'm very happy.
Thank you for actually mentioning that, because even personally for me, I think that was one of the most pivotal points, even because I got connected to the ministry also after being in corporate. And yes, and it just takes you on another, it's a satisfactory based work that you can't get anywhere else.
That's right.
So with that, I would actually like to focus on today's devotional, which is on character, power, excellence, which is about the prophet Daniel.
That's right.
So we have from the book of Daniel, chapter 1, verse 4 here. Children, in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace. So now when we look at the devotional heading itself, par excellence. Par excellence actually is a term of praise in French. It refers to supreme or outstanding. So this particular time when Prophet Daniel, as a teenager, along with his friends, they were handpicked because they displayed or demonstrated this specific set of qualities. And during that time, under the Babylonian captivity, they were picked to serve in the king's palace. So when you look at these skill sets, whether you're serving in ministry or in work, I mean, my question to you is, what are the biblical traits that even you as employers would seek in individuals to work in either ministry or to serve?
I think that's a very good question, and I think it proves how valuable the Dew of Heaven is, because it's the practicality of it, right? So it's something that both of us actually refer to daily. So to answer your question, Pirino, so when you look at Daniel, Prophet Daniel, when he was a very young boy, like you correctly said, the Dew of Heaven goes on to explain the main characteristics he had. So if I'm to read off the Dew of Heaven, so fewer glowing countenance, pleasing personalities, possession of behavioral wisdom, knowledge, ability, superior intelligence, refined etiquette before royalty, and then language fluency. Those were some of it. So how I see it as relevant to us is, so at this point in our lives, both of us are at a point in our careers, we are actually, from a corporate perspective, we are at a senior level, senior leadership level, where we are the examples, or we are the people that our juniors look up to. And then from another angle, if you take from our business point of view, the company that we have, so we are the first point of contact to our customers. So it's us that a potential customer will see firsthand. So it's our personality that will speak volumes about what our company is, or as a person who we are. The trust factor will come on that, right? So when you talk about that, the personality, having a pleasing personality, where, you know, people feel like approaching, that is something which is very valuable in ministry also. Even as a leader, when I serve in the ministry, that is a very key thing, because we work with different people. It's different to a corporate environment, but it's different to, like you come across different people. You come across volunteers, you come across professionals, and you work with our partners. So there's a different crowd. So a pleasing personality is a key, because that's your first point, as well as how thorough you are in terms of wisdom, how you behave, right? So how we behave with a junior staff member cannot be the way we behave with a potential customer. So it all comes through wisdom. Yes. So behavioral wisdom is one of the key things. And then the knowledge ability. That's one of the other key aspects to me, because whatever we do, whether it is ministry, whether it is a corporate environment, whether it's our business, we should demonstrate we know what we are talking about. So that is knowledge ability. So those are just some of the examples that I can relate to our lives.
Thank you so much for taking time to actually elaborate those 7 qualities. Now, these 7 qualities also gain them favor, honor, and special grooming. So, but they were chosen for a higher purpose. And they actually, wherever they dwelled, they demonstrated unwavering faith in their standing, and then that got him into literal trouble. So situations like that, I'm sure you all can identify and share with the audience what kind of situations you all have faced personally.
Well, if I may take that as well.
Sure.
So, see, when it came to Daniel and his friends, yes, they were chosen to work in the royal palace, but they were working, like they were in a place where there was, you know, for example, strange worship. Or if you take right from the beginning, so these were young boys that were chosen. So the king identified 2 key things that was needed to be provided to them. One was training, which is very correct, because they had to be trained. They were not all from a palace, all from a royal background, so they had to be trained for how they should behave. But then the Bible goes on to speak about how their food was determined. It specifically goes on to say where Daniel and his friends and the other boys, that were there, the other people who were to be the wise men, were, you know, in their training period, they were asked to specifically follow a certain diet of meat and wine. And then Bible tells us how Daniel and his friends didn't follow that. So that shows, even in our natural world today, right, people focus a lot on the physical well-being, right? But actually speaking, Purina, what we have experienced in our life is, yes, the physical well-being is over. It's important. It's of great importance. However, before that, you have to have your spiritual well-being focused on.
Right.
It's a spiritual food
Correct.
that really, gives you that confidence. So if you are spiritually strong, then you naturally, it will anyway come, the countenance or whatever you call it, it will come. So I think even what we have faced is now, because we have grown in the Lord like this, people notice that difference. Right? So they do ask, is this like, do you all eat something different? Do you all do something different? So the answer is no. The only answer we can give is, we are very strong in our journey with the Lord. That is what is bringing out everything, every character aspect, everything in our lives. It's that.
Okay.
So, and around us, especially myself, coming from a non-Christian background, around me, the worships that happens, the beliefs are really different. So
Right.
it is challenging. However, like our prophet has taught us, when you believe in God, when you're steadfast in things of the Lord, you move on. That's
Wow.
what we have done.
So I'm actually going to direct this question to you, Dilshad. So persecution in the workplace. I'm sure you all have come across that even in marketplace where you've worked. Would you like to share your instances where you've had to stand strong in your faith?
Yeah, actually, so I think the strongest persecution, not only in the workplace, I think from certain family, friends, workplace, ridicule. It was when Dad went through his persecution.
Yes, absolutely.
And that was a moment, that we were really tested, right? And there was a lot of hardship because people would say so many things, and we had to yet keep a calm heart. No point in arguing. There was no
Correct.
point, because we knew in our hearts time will reveal, make certain revelations.
Absolutely.
You can't argue with people. So, but to keep your heart still and to not, we were very strong. We were backing Dad 100%. So, and we were very bold in doing that. So, yeah, it was. But that said, it wasn't easy. And but it was just a matter of being patient and.
Thank you so
pull
much for
through.
sharing that, and I'm sure most of the congregants can identify with that as well. So another thing that we've seen, touching on the same lines, is Daniel's persistent character in prayer. He was very persistent, and he was also a person who exercised godliness. So this is just a general question where I'm always curious, why do you think Christians in general struggle in difficult seasons and try to take shortcuts in life?
So I think one I think significant reason is Christians try to segregate church life and natural life. I think that gap is the issue, right? I mean, if you make it one, and if you just take, Dad releases in every message. That's why we are consistent. We want to, every opportunity we can get to hear Dad, be in his presence, we want to absorb that. Because if you just implement 1%, even just 1% into your natural life, right, of what you hear in the message, you start seeing impacts. You start, I mean, your relationship with the Father, it goes on to another level. I mean, I'm sure you can also understand. Like, for example, this is something personal, right? And it's to do with my relationship with the Lord. So I'd like to think I'm not fat. I'd like to think I'm pleasantly plump, right? But this pleasantly plumpness was impacting my bending of my knees.
Okay.
Right? So what was prompting me, right, especially this year, or rather we're just in the new year, last year, was do something about it, do something about it, do something about it. And I heed that voice, and I'm now doing something about it. I'm eating healthy salads. Out of all the people in the world, I eat salads now. Yes, and I go to gym, and now it's, it wasn't. And with my company, it's an IT based company, so it's not a lot of movement. You are in front of a computer.
Sedentary life.
It's
Yeah.
very sedentary life.
Okay.
So incorporating this wasn't easy. It's not easy, but incorporating that physical thing, because that's what the voice was telling me. That was what my spirit was telling me. How was my spirit telling me that? Because my relationship with the Lord was getting it. How is that happening? Because I'm consistent, because I'm putting into practice to the best of my ability what I am learning from my man of God.
Okay. So that is absolutely wonderful, and I think a lot of people are blessed by what you both shared. So unfortunately, this is the only amount of time we have. So thank you again for being on set, being on the show, and I know that we are always blessed when we hear and we draw in experiences from other people as well. So thank you again.
Thanks,
Thank you.